Hello. I want to get your comments on this, if you have any, which you may, and maybe perhaps an interpretation if needs be. I was sitting in this very chair. I think my wife was there. We were talking on and off, and I had a vision. Sitting here, I had my eyes open and looking off, and I saw a table. This table was like solid gold and like a big conference table in GM, or some big corporate office, a huge table. But this table was so long I couldn't see the other end of it. It was, a mile long or more. So even though it was huge, it went off into the distance to where I could no longer see it. And the chairs along the left hand side and the right hand side were big, majestic chairs with carvings on them and everything, and they were gold in color, but they didn't look like they maybe were solid gold, made out of wood with gold inlaid on them, and they were spaced apart, pretty far apart, each chair. And the table, from what I could see, was about 1/3 full, meaning there a couple of chairs were empty, and then one was occupied, and a couple more empty, another one occupied. And sitting at the table were what I perceived to be angels. And they had big books in front of them. Each angel had a book in front of them laid on the table. A big book. Large pages, thick books, hardcover kind of, just big, heavy books. And each one had one. There was a guy standing behind me over here, not really behind me, but out of my view, who was with me. And up above him and off to my right, I could see the earth, as if I was on another planet. And so that's the things I saw, like about in 1 second I saw that. And so I looked at what they were doing, and then over this way there's a bookshelf with a bunch of books on it, and another bookshelf that was empty behind the guy that was sort of out of my view, and off to his left, as I could see the books. And the books were about people. Each book was for one person. So I knew what this was. It was sort of like Judgment in a way, or a preview of Judgment, maybe. And as the angels were working or doing what they do, one of them looked up to the guy behind me and said, "What are we waiting for?" And the gentleman that was behind me said, "We're waiting for them," meaning me and you on earth. He said, "We're waiting for them to see the earth the way we see it." And he said, "You," meaning Paul, he said, "you look at the moon the way we look at the earth." So, anyways, that's what I saw. And I can expand on my comments, and if you want to make comments, go right ahead. But my comment is that when he said, "What are we waiting for?" that was the angel asking that question, not me. And he wasn't asking me. What they're waiting for is conclusion. Because at one time, this table was fully occupied. It was an angel in every seat. And judgment had began. They started judging us and our life, starting with the first member who died of our humanity, which I think would be Abel. Or maybe they didn't start with Abel, but they started with dead people. And that is event started with the fulfillment of a 2300 day prophecy in Daniel. And typically it's called the cleansing of the sanctuary. So they began doing that. They had a full table of angels, and they started pulling books off the shelf, and they started reading them or writing in them or editing them or whatever they're doing with those books for each individual who died. And eventually they got through everyone. They got through everyone that was dead. And there was nobody left to judge who was dead, because there were no dead people left unjudged. And therefore there was a transition taking place. And that transition was they began to judge the living. But they were halted from doing that because we're not at a point in time where the judgment of the living can take place. So according to the book of Revelation, you have a mark of the beast that comes out, and it is in opposition to the seal of God, and certain events take place, and those things haven't happened yet. That's the judgment of the living. So what they did is they cut back the number of people or number of angels involved in the judgment back to a minimum 30% or something like that. And what those guys were doing is when a person died, a book showed up on that shelf. And one of the angels would walk over and get that book and come back over and sit back down at the table and review that person's life. So they're basically still judging the dead, but they're all caught up. And they're waiting for us, because his question was, what are we waiting for? And the reply was, we're waiting for them to see the earth the way we see it. And whatever that means, that's the part that's kind of confounding to me, because it's kind of like they're waiting for events to take place because it's going to happen, or they're waiting for us to accelerate those events so that they happen in our generation. And the only way we can accelerate them is to be diligent and learn what it is we're supposed to do on earth. So anyways, that's what I saw. And you're welcome to comment on it. And hopefully you've got constructive criticism to put some more meaning into it. Thank you. Have a good day.